Hello friends, Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works workshop. What is this? Well, I don't know what I'd call it. It's a playable instrument, but I refer to it as a toy or a novelty in my opinion. However, I do know there are serious collectors out there that collect all these little small instruments. I had one fella bring me over a dozen of them over the years, and this one's owned by a local auctioneer. And he just wanted it fixed up, and he brought it to me years ago and asked me if I could fix it, and I tried to find a pre-made head this size, and it's an odd size, and I could not find one anywhere. So I told him, you know, the last time I saw him that I can now make a head for it. I had never done that before, but I was able to do that successfully on a couple of other banjos, and they turned out real nice. So I said, if you still want that little thing fixed, just bring it back and I'll fix it up one of these days, you know. And so I have, this looks like paper, but it's actually calf skin, and I will be attempting to make a calf skin head for this, and we'll see how it turns out. I'll take you along for the ride. First thing I'm going to do is take this apart, and you may say, well, it's already got a head on it. Well, it does, but this is somebody's idea of a fix. It's just a soft plastic. It's not a regular banjo head type material at all. I imagine if I took my finger and pushed hard enough, I'd poke a hole through it. So it's just a soft plastic like you would put over your windows, basically. Draw it up tight, and obviously that's never going to work. It's never going to be strong enough to hold the tension of the strings. So that's why we're going to take it apart. So we'll start by taking the back off of it, then we'll loosen all these tensioning wires here, hooks, tensioning hooks, and we'll take the ring off of it, take it all apart. Well, here's what it looks like all apart. We have a little hoop there, a little wire that the hide will be put down through this and lap back around, and then pushed down on this across here, and then held in place by this tensioning hoop where all the tensioners pull down and stretch the hide. So this was the old plastic that was on there, and like I said, it's not much. It's a fairly strong plastic, but it's definitely not the kind of plastic you would use for a banjo head. So anyway, we'll throw that in the trash. And I believe we got to soak this first to get it really good and soft and pliable, so we'll bring you back when we're ready to try stretching it out here. The directions don't actually address this, but this is such a large piece for such a small banjo that I've drawn around it and gave myself about 2.5 or so inches all the way around it, and I think that'll be enough. I'm going to go ahead and trim outside of my circle here just a little bit. That should work out pretty good. That rest of that's just waste. For holding this workpiece, I decided to just cut myself a little block of wood that fit, you know, from one side to the other inside the rim. I just put a wood screw. There was already a hole there for the tailpiece, so I just went through that hole into this piece of wood. And over on this side, there's a bigger hole for the neck. So what I did was I just cut a little block of wood that fit that hole, drilled all the way through that little block of wood into this piece of wood, and then that gives me a good solid hold that I can put it in my vise and work on this, and that'll give me that third hand that you always need when you're doing something like this. Okay, let me first say I'm certainly no expert at this, and I have been soaking this for about 20 minutes now. It's pretty soft. I patted it dry with a towel to get rid of the excess water. I'm just going to lay it over here, more or less center it. There, the neck joint is on this far side over here. The tensioning hoop has a cutout in it, or this little hoop has a cutout in it, a wire. And I'm placing that over the neck joint because I want to hide that behind the neck. And I'm just going to press it on here and just pull it down a little bit, not very far. And And we'll just pull these in and let them lay like so. It's going to be a little tight on a little tiny head like this. This is a tiny one. This is probably harder than doing the bigger ones. Okay, this is going to be tough, getting this down over all that, because this is kind of tight already. Trying to center the neck notch with the neck hole, and just centering it by eye the best I can. Keep trying to make sure the neck is centered here. There we go. We might have got it there. Okay, we might have got it there. And I'm just gonna get something on here if I can to hold it. Got a little bit of wrinkling going on right there, which I'm not happy about, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that out of there though, because it doesn't seem like it wants to pull anywhere. Hopefully that'll come out when I tighten it down a little bit. But anyway, that looks pretty good. It really does look pretty good. Just a teeny amount of wrinkling going on there. Otherwise, it looks really, really good. Over the years, I've acquired a small arsenal of parts, and I'm going to see if any of this will fit this. They're not all the same, that's for sure. And here's a nut that looks similar, but I think it's smaller. Yeah, it's smaller. Unfortunately, it's not going to screw on there, I don't believe. Yeah, not so much. It appears I need to make 3 nuts to fit this, so I'll do that in a little while. I'll go to my other shop and make those. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and do some tightening on this. So I'll start with this one over here. And I'm just going to turn them about a half a turn each and go to the opposite side. And they're snug. There's a quarter about. There's about a half. Go over here to this other side. Snug it up. Okay, there's a quarter. There's about a half. That's pretty good. That's pretty even. Tension feels about right. So I'm going to go ahead and make some more of these nuts, and I'll be cutting this off here in just a minute too. I guess I'm ready to go ahead and cut that off, so I guess I'll go ahead and do that. I want to be very careful so I don't cut the rest of it. For myself, I feel a little more in control with holding the X-Acto knife than I do a single edge razor blade. So I'm going to go ahead and use that, and I'm going to cut it just underneath the rim edge. Okay, we'll just let that rest. We're going to let this set overnight before we do anything more to it. Like I said, right now it's still a hair high. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but it's starting to sound a little bit like a drum. It's still pretty flexible, pretty loose. And we'll just let it rest, and we'll go make some nuts, and then we'll come back. Well, I came up with a creative solution for the problem here. I had the 3 hooks, but I had no nuts. So I found the old nuts for another old banjo, which would not fit on here, and I couldn't figure out why. When I measured the threads on these bolts, they were metric. And I tried every national or standard thread that I could find, and none of them fit. So I thought, well, I'll check metric, and sure enough, it was a 1 millimeter. So what I did was, I took a 832 standard die, ran the 832 die right down the shaft, and recut the threads. So basically the threads are a little bit cross-threaded, but they actually cut pretty good, believe it or not, and the nuts screw right on there. So that solves the problem. Now we'll put them on here. We're going to let that rest overnight. Let it dry out. It's still wet. It's been a couple of days, and the little banjo head has been drying. You can hear it now. Yeah, it's really nice. It turned out real good. Nice and hard. And just like a regular little banjo. So we're going to put her back together now. So here comes the assembly. Well, this is what she looks like all back together, and at least it's got a good solid head on it. I tuned it kind of like a ukulele. These 3 strings tune up fine. This one here, the G is really low, but I tuned it on up to a C because it was so low it was rattling. So I tuned it as a C, E, A, and it's not holding tune very well, but like I said, this is a wall hanger. And at least I hope you enjoyed how to make a head and how to stretch a head and put it on there. At least that was my method. I don't claim to be the expert, but that's how it worked out, and seemed like it worked pretty good. Thanks for watching.